Good Monday morning. It's November 1st. Now you know and I know this is not November 1st, but it is November 1st, liturgically. So I'm starting the week, okay, the 31st week of the year, but it's November 1st. All Saints Day. And I'm sitting in my rocker, and you can see my Alaska shirt on, my sweatshirt. And it's just a quiet, very quiet. My friends are visiting me. We're having a celebration of my 80th birthday. My friends Kathy and John, Karen and Ted, they're hosting a kind of a lunch stuff. And my friends from Wisconsin came down. Marge and Tom and then Sarah came in from New York. And very sacred for me. The old and the new, all at one time. It's really something. It's true. My oldest friends here in St. Louis are represented powerfully by Junie's family, Karen and Ted, and of course Kathy and John, and their children and grandchildren, etc. But also the refreshment of new life, where Sarah was my student 10 years ago, 11, and her parents became my very good friends. They were very intimate friends. It's the vitality and the refreshment of life itself. We retain those whom we love both in memory and in fact, sometimes with terrible grieving, as I do for Junie right at this moment. But life moves on, and it moves on together with grief and hope and refreshment. It's the story of life itself. I feel it this morning. I remember my parents very especially November 1st, because it's kind of a maybe cute story. November 1st we got out of school. I'm thinking high school now. We didn't have class, okay? We didn't have school. Well, what do you think? November 1st, my father, for whatever reasons, I kind of think it was a Monday. I'm thinking of the year. It must have been my senior year or my junior year of high school. What's the chance of it being on a Monday like it is today? That's slim. And my dad was out of work on a Monday. He was a waiter. The restaurant was closed, you see? So it was, maybe let's say it was 62, 63 years ago. Whatever the case, everything depended on the weather. If it was warm, relatively speaking, for Connecticut November, okay, November 1st, we would go fishing. We'd go to Niantic and go fishing, trolling for stripers, you see? But if it was too cold for that, we would go rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting. It would be the first day of rabbit season, I think, as I remember. We used to, when we would go hunting, squirrel season began in October. Then big game hunting began in November. We went from squirrels to rabbits, literally. It was like big game hunting at that time. Can you imagine? So I remember with affection that November 1st wasn't so much a holy day to me as holy, but it was a day that either I was going to go trolling for stripers from my dad, or hunting squirrels and rabbits from my dad. I was going to be outside. I was going to be where I love to be, with my father in the woods. My father gave me that spirit, and I remember him with enormous affection today, right at this moment. I was just sitting here in my rocker. Thought, what am I going to say in this video? It dawned on me to think of the story of November 1st, back in 1958, 59 at the latest. 58, would have been 58. What am I talking about, 58? Yeah, you see. It's All Saints Day, and we have the Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek, blessed are this, blessed, and that great story. The people of God. But when I think of the saints, I have to say, I don't think of the saints that are canonized. I think the saints who existentialized themselves in my life, who are part of me, in other words, a big word. I think of my parents. I think of Junie. I think of Bill. Mostly Junie. And I think of our friends. I think of my friends in Louisville, who are all dead now. Okay? People who slugged it out day by day. And they lived those virtues. They lived the Beatitudes. Not in kind of a pious way. They slugged it out. When I think of holiness, I don't look at the lives of the saints because, frankly, those are stories that have been canonized, as it were, and they've lost the refreshment of freshness. You see? I like the real story. I like the story that All Saints Day means we're going to either go fishing or hunting, not whether we're going to go to church. We maybe should have gone to church, but I was thinking about going and shooting a squirrel. You see? I remember with affection the fidelity of my father to my mother and to his sons. So when I think of fidelity, I think of the old man. my parents, their fidelity to their family. See, I don't know about the lives of the saints. I know the life of saintliness, which is when you do what you have to do to be honorable and good and decent. And I think of so many people in my life, some of the monks and some of the guys in the monastery, some of the guys with the biggest problems, booze, whatever. Some of those guys were models of redemption because they never quit. I love that. I love that. I admire that more than maybe somebody who seemed more pious and innocent. I'm a believer in redemption, not innocence. I despise the very thought of innocence. There is no such thing. There is just adventure. Just what St. Paul said, it's an adventure. An adventure in peril. It's a perilous adventure of grace and sin, nobility and dishonor, the great struggle of life. And the holy ones, to me, are the strugglers. And not the saintly guys, but the guys who are the saints. The ones who fell and fell and fell, but kept getting. I love St. Peter. He couldn't get it right to save his life, but he kept getting up. He's a great model of belief. Joe Blow, the rag picker, just an average guy doing very extraordinary things, but the ordinariness of his heart. You see? That's what I say. I was thinking of two friends of my father's. They were my friends, too, considerably older than me, were a whole generation older. Pete Ferriola and Henry Sorcinelli, Demi. My father named him Demitas because he was short and bitter. I liked the coffee. So the name stuck, Demitas, Demi. They used to take me fishing. And it was a heroic moment for me. When I was just a boy, if I could go fishing with Pete and Demi, oh man, Pete had a boat. He had his own boat and a motor. Holy cow. We used to rent. He didn't rent. He had his own. It was just a 16, 18-footer with a little 50 horsepower motor. You might as well have the Queen Elizabeth, okay? You see? It was wonderful. These were great men, and they loved me. Were they pious? Hell no. But they were holy, and they loved me. They honored me all their lives. They're dead now, dead a long time. But I remember them with great affection. Great affection. So when I think of the holy, when I say Mass, like this morning I said, when I say Mass on Holy All Saints Day, I think of all the saints, the people that God, through His providence, gave me, beginning with my family, my friends, those who entered the engagement and entered the adventure with me, who either brought me along or tagged along, were there, who loved me. Junie, who loved me and walked this life with me. You see? I walk with her and her family, her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren. You see? The journey, the great journey. That's the truth. And those who are long gone, dead many, many years. Pete and Demi, my grandparents, especially my grandmother, who helped raise us. See? Remember with affection, but also with gratitude and a recognition of the holiness of the ordinary. The holiness of the ordinary. All Saints' Day has nothing to do with the great saints, but the greatest of all saints, the one you live with, the one you walk with, the people who slug it out day by day by day. I think of the kids of the neighborhood. Some of those men and some of the adults in that neighborhood were rough and tough. Good grief. Were they saints? Not by any bookish standard, but they persevered. They went to work every morning. They went to work and they stayed faithful to their families. Crudely, maybe, roughly, but they were faithful. I don't. In my life, and if I'm God, I'm going to judge them for trying. Not for succeeding, but only for trying and never quitting. People of redemption, not innocence. They weren't innocent. We're not innocent. St. Peter wasn't innocent. Just a working stiff, trying to do the right thing in the right way at the right time. Fumbling most of the time, but getting it right some of the time. And the some of the time trumps the other times. Goodness always triumphs. Grace always triumphs over sin. The holiness of the ordinary. The holiness of all of us as we live this life together.